After the disappointing disqualification in Austin, Mercedes must have believed that their toughest weekend of the season was already in the past. However, Sao Paulo proved them wrong, as the sprint race once again turned out to be their undoing. The highly praised new floor introduced in Austin, which was seen as a significant upgrade and a sign of successful development, appeared to have fallen short of expectations. The team is now faced with the challenge of building for the next year. But the question arises, what is there to build upon? In this discussion, we'll delve into Mercedes' dreadful weekend in Brazil, explore the reasons behind their struggles, and examine the potential repercussions for the upcoming season. So, stay with us as there is much to unpack about the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, unless, of course, you happen to be a Mercedes fan. Saturday's sessions demonstrated that with the right track selection, sprint races can be quite entertaining. It turns out that racing drivers enjoy racing for the sake of it sometimes. Aston Martin, too, made a strong comeback by nailing their setup for the weekend and securing significant points. Lance Stroll deserves credit for his impressive fifth-place finish, marking his best performance since Australia at the beginning of April. Unfortunately, overtaking Mclaren for fourth place in the constructors' standings seems like a monumental task with just 2 races left. Speaking of McLaren, Lando Norris continues to showcase his incredible pace, making his team a favourite to challenge Red Bull next year. Now, let's shift the focus back to Mercedes. The team had likely seen themselves as favourites to challenge Max Verstappen next season after the successful floor upgrade in Austin. However, the Sao Paulo track exposed a critical weakness that has plagued them throughout this season, and we'll delve deeper into that shortly. But before we get into their struggles, let's first acknowledge just how disastrous this weekend was for Mercedes. Looking back at the 2022 Sao Paulo Grand Prix, Mercedes had secured a first and second place finish along with the fastest lap. In the sprint race, they finished first and third, missing out on just 1 point the entire weekend. Lewis Hamilton had a remarkable race last year, charging through the pack to finish second, while George Russell won his first ever race, marking the team's first victory of the season. The excitement for 2023 was at its peak after that race, with Mercedes showing significant late-season development progress and a strong foundation for the upcoming year. However, the reality this season has been quite the opposite. Perhaps the stark contrast between these 2 races perfectly encapsulates Mercedes' struggles in the ground effect era. The same circuit, similar technical regulations, late-season developments that initially appeared promising, yet vastly different outcomes. Team principal Toto Wolff described Mercedes' performance at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix as their worst weekend in 13 years. Hamilton finished 8th after a race that lacked competitiveness, while his teammate George Russell retired from 11th due to an impending engine failure. Wolff expressed his bewilderment at Mercedes' lack of pace and deemed it unacceptable. He also stated that they would be introducing a fundamentally different car for the next season. These disappointing performances came on the heels of Mercedes introducing a new floor that was expected to provide a significant performance boost. Wolff emphasized that their team, known for its solidity, did not resemble a well-functioning unit on that day. Notably, Mercedes' form had drastically shifted within 3 consecutive races. They were strong runners-up in 2 races, challenging Max Verstappen, only to find themselves struggling a week later. Wolff's comments reflected his belief that the current Mercedes car is a fundamentally flawed concept, with numerous critical issues necessitating an entirely new car to address them. This perspective contrasts with Wolff's sentiment after the Austin race in Mexico, where he had praised the new floor as evidence of Mercedes heading in the right direction. The inconsistency in their assessments highlights one of the core issues facing Mercedes in the current technical regulations: a lack of fundamental understanding of how the regulations are intended to work. It's as if they are attempting to climb a mountain blindfolded. They may feel they are moving in the right direction because they are ascending, but they remain uncertain if the next step will lead them further up or down. They continue to introduce upgrades, hoping that they will work, but the unpredictability of their success or failure persists, mirroring their struggles with car setups. Given sufficient time for adjustments, they can perform admirably. However, during sprint weekends, with limited time and mounting pressure, the team struggles to get it right. In Austin, they erred on the side of running the car too low to the ground, which inflated their performance but led to the disqualification of one of their cars. In Sao Paulo, they repeated the mistake but swung to the opposite extreme. To avoid disqualification in Sao Paulo, the team raised the car's ride height to reduce wear on the plank during the race. While this strategy reduced the effectiveness of the Venturi effect from the floor and allowed more air to escape from the floor edges, it also resulted in a substantial loss of downforce. To compensate for the downforce deficit, the team resorted to fitting a massive rear wing. the quickest way to increase an F1 car's downforce. However, a significant rear wing also generates substantial drag, causing them to struggle on straights. In Formula 1, winning races necessitates a balance between speed on straights and agility through corners. Toto Wolff previously justified Mercedes having some of the slowest pit stops on the grid after the Austin Grand Prix by prioritizing safety over speed. However, in F1, success often requires taking calculated risks, and Mercedes' conservative approach led them to set their ride height too high in Brazil, rendering them uncompetitive. This stems from Mercedes' limited understanding of their car's behavior. Had they comprehended their car better, they could have opted for a lower ride height, reducing the need for excessive rear wing and resulting in a more competitive weekend. Hamilton's post-race remarks encapsulate the situation perfectly. He acknowledged that the floor was not performing as expected and the higher wing setup, necessitated by the excessive ride height, caused significant drag and a lack of straight-line speed, hampering their performance in both straights and corners. Toto Wolff openly admitted the mistake, conceding that they set the car's ride height too high. This mistake reflects a lack of understanding that top-tier teams typically have of their cars. As the technical team shifts its focus to the next season, Mercedes' outlook is uncertain following their underwhelming performance in Brazil. Their repeated struggle to grasp the nuances of ground effect cars as a comprehensive package raises questions about their ability to develop effectively. Hamilton's comments after the race highlight the predicament at Mercedes. He all but gave up on challenging for an 8th World Championship in the next 2 years, following the team's inexplicable showing in Brazil. When asked if he could challenge Verstappen before his current Mercedes deal expires, Hamilton, approaching 39 years of age in January, expressed doubts. He indicated that Red Bull is expected to maintain a considerable advantage for the next couple of years. So, the question arises, is Red Bull poised to dominate for the foreseeable future? Or could a team that appears to understand the current regulations, like Mclaren, mount a championship challenge in the upcoming season? I'm eager to hear your thoughts and perspectives. Please share them in the comments section below. Also, remember to subscribe to the channel for notifications on our future uploads, ensuring you stay informed about the developments in the 2023 Formula 1 season.